What's good with y'all? What's good? What's good? Y'all, what's good? What's good? We tuning in for another video, and today we're gonna be talking about meats, man. Talking about meats, the logistics of converter, the loose versus tight, all of that good stuff. What's going on with meats? I'm gonna show y'all some example and all of that. Cause I know a lot of people get confused, and this is an education video. Told y'all I have it coming. I got meats covered up. Don't need to uncover it. Transmission will be coming out tomorrow, or at the time y'all looking at it, probably already out. So just depending on when I drop the video, cause I'll be shooting so many at one time. But I'm gonna sit y'all down and I'm gonna go over converter, and well, we're gonna go in the garage, man. It's a little humid, but I'm gonna go over converter and what's tight and loose and what's going on with meats. What will happen with the track video, the nitrous, why the nitrous pads not being clean, all that stuff. So it's going to be a real informative video. It's notepad and all that, especially when learn about converters and how they affect performance. And this is what we got on the schedule for today. All right, y'all, we checking in. So look, I told you today is gonna be an informative video. I'm gonna have y'all some examples, man. I'm hot, been out there fooling around and stuff and all that. But as you can see, if you saw the last track video, then you saw meats. Meats won't make a clean pass on nitrous, man. Meats will not make a clean pass on nitrous. I'm gonna make sure I'm good, y'all. It look like it's a little too dark right here. Hold on, it will crooked. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, as long as y'all can hear me, that's the main thing. So meats won't make a clean pass on nitrous, cause every time I go to it, it's in the rail limit. It's over revving, basically. At first, I thought the first time, which was a couple weeks ago, or the first nitrous video y'all saw, where the car didn't break the rear and nothing, it did the same thing, and I said, okay. I noticed I had the rail limit a little too low, honestly. A little too low, but in the perfect circumstances, it would have been just right, honestly. But I still gave myself, I said, well, I'm gonna raise it. But still, if everything working as it should, it would have been jam on the first time where the rail limit was at. Cause you don't want to just take it super high. Just cause the engine can go up to a certain RPM don't mean you want to take it up there. You definitely don't want to be bouncing out the rail limit. Like I said, like I was. I mean, I got some good stuff in my engine, but you still don't want to, you know, be shortening up the lifespan and stuff, basically, doing it. But, like I said, I would definitely not go out there repeatedly, track trip after track trip, continue doing it. This second time, and after making two passes, and it's bouncing out the rail limit, I said, okay, we got a problem. So it's blowing through the converter on nitrous and on motor. Now, the first, I counted it. I said maybe the weight of the vehicle changed a little bit, and maybe they had a little effect on it, because it will affect it, but it shouldn't be that dramatic. And y'all know these have been my first time being able to make nitrous pass, because the first time when I had the 8.5 rear, it never left the line, so it immediately broke, so I couldn't see. But the converter, it would always blow through the converter on motor from the first hit to every track trip. On every track trip or every motor pass y'all saw meats running on motor, it blew through the converter. I just didn't say nothing because I figured, I said if it's blowing through the converter on motor, I said then on nitrous it's gonna be jammed up. Nitrous will tighten it up, gonna be jammed up. And understand what I'm talking about applies to turbos, superchargers, any forced induction application. Any case where you adding, you got a power adder. So what is blowing through the converter? Okay, to put in reference for y'all, or and a lot of people probably never seen the converter cut open, but I have done over the years, man, a vlog, and I have showed all this stuff. I had one custom, I had 2 custom built, so, and one I actually showed for the Camaro. But blowing through the converter, when you hear somebody say it's blowing through the converter, to put in perspective what it'll feel like, it's basically if you go, you know, when you change gear, you driving, you racing, or you driving down the road, and you change the gear, you feel it, your RPM drop. You got a tach, if you got a tachometer, that's your thing with your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For people that don't know what it is in their car, you might have some people learn. You got your tachometer, aka a tach, one with the numbers. They tell you how high you take your engine RPMs. RPM means revolutions per minute. So that's how many times your engine is doing a complete revolution, and your piston's going up and down in 1 minute. So basically, if you had 1,000, you running your engine then turn 1,000 revolutions in 60 seconds. So the RPM. So blowing through the converter, what it feels like, you going down the track, you racing, you pull, you go from first to second. Let's say you go up, you got your shift light set at 5,000 RPM. So you go up, when it hit 5,000, your light come on, you bump the second. Guess what? Your RPM hand don't move. It's still sitting at 5,000. So you like, all right, you bump the third. Your RPM still sitting at 5,000. Or let's say maybe it drops down to 4,800. That's blowing through the converter. You're supposed to see a bigger drop than that. Or AKA, if you're doing that on motor, on natural aspirated, that example, then your converter is extremely loose. It's extremely loose. So loose, you got loose, and then you got tight. Now this get confusing with some people. So in most situations, well, I would say not extremely loose. In a motor situation, you want to lose a converter. Actually, not super loose, because it still blow through. You got to find a sweet spot, man, with a converter, and that sweet spot is dependent upon a number of variables. So how you know to choose the right converter? Well, when you're going to get a converter built, inspect, it's good to know the information. That's why I got all these tools. Like I got scales and stuff. Cause a good, decent company, they're gonna ask you all the information. Now you might not have it on hand, cause every person don't even know what their car weighs. But if you want to get down nitty gritty and have a company build you the perfect converter, you want to have the information, cause it does affect it. So that's why you can't take a converter out of one person's car and put it in another. They can be the same car, a Monte Carlo converter car out of Monte Carlo. Damn near the same engine, but that car might be 500-600 pounds heavier. This car might have more weight took out of it, and it's going to affect the way the converter reacts and to the power. So you might you want to have the weight on hand. Usually the company's going to ask things like this. You want to have the weight of the vehicle race ready, what they call race ready. Jay, what is race ready weight? Race ready weight is how your car will sit when it's on the drag strip in the water box, getting ready to make a pass. So I would not take Big Meat's race ready weight on 24s unless that was what I'm racing primarily. But I don't do that. I race on a radial and a front run. So with race ready weight, you would want to have your car set up like you finna race. Same amount of gas and everything. If you use 5 or 10 gallons at a time, then you would want 5 to 10 gallons of race fuel in your car with you sitting in it with your suit and helmet on. All that stuff affects the weight. That's the weight you want. That's the race ready weight. So you won't have that. This stuff helps. You ain't gotta have it. You can do an estimate, but it helps. You want to know your camshaft, your cam car, your profile, where it make peak RPM. It's good to know where your engine make peak torque at, what RPM and what peak horsepower. The more information you got, the better your converter will be. the better your converter will be. Now sometimes you can get a freak of nature converter off the shelf and it works. I got one in Dolo off the shelf and it has damn near 0% slippage. The downside is they only hold so much power. You can get an off-the-shelf converter, but they only gonna take you so far. Just be completely transparent. And a lot of off-the-shelf converters are not trans brake friendly. You can use a trans brake with any converter, but you keep using it, it's tearing the insides up. It's not set up for that. That's why they ask you using trans brake, all that good stuff. So, and back like with a motor, a naturally aspirated application, most of the time, man, you want your converter on the looser side because naturally aspirated is not turning revolutions as fast. Well, most of them not. That depends on what kind of motor you have now. Now don't take this ain't a one rule fits all thing. I'm just saying a milder street application with a good little hot, let's say between 10 to 12 to 1 small block, you want it on the looser side because on motor it's harder for the engine to turn up. If you get what I'm saying, when you're using nitrous or any kind of power adder where it's immediate power on demand, it makes your RPM jump up twice as fast. Like if you ever use nitrous, then you know what I'm talking about. When you shoot that nitrous, depending on the shot, the hit of nitrous you got, your RPM will jump up instantly 2,000, anywhere from 2 to 3 to 3,200 RPMs. Just like that. As soon as you touch the button or you turn the nitrous on, it immediately boom. So it changes the way the converter react. Now when you run on horsepower, that RPM's not jumping up not that fast, not like that. Unless you got a series unit, but still your converter affect how fast your RPM climb too. So most of the time, if you know you're gonna be running horsepower, you want a converter on the looser side. Which when a converter is super loose, it won't see as much as a drop in RPM between shifts. So a converter, you say, man, it's too loose. That means they're not seeing a big enough drop in RPMs, which is what my problem is. My converter is way too loose. It's even too loose for motors. See, and the reason being, I mean, it gonna be kind of hard for people to understand or really probably some believe. Some people know, but I got a real unit in there, man. People look at the car because what it is. The box Chevy is not painted on the outside. Can't judge a book by a cover. You wouldn't suspect somebody put big money in the engine and something like that, but it's a real unit. That engine in Big Meech, it turns RPMs twice as fast as Dolo. Dolo is a real small block. That engine turns RPMs twice as fast. I can show y'all the clip. I probably will. I'm gonna show y'all the clip. I'm gonna put a clip in here. Hopefully I can remember. I'm gonna put a clip in here, man, and then show y'all. I'm gonna zoom in on the tack and show y'all the motor pass so y'all can see. I'm just gonna show the launch and how fast the hand goes up there to 6,000 on the launch, man. It turns up RPM. So if I remember, I'm finna put that in right now. But yeah, man, I just put the clip in there. Hopefully I remember and I put the clip in there and y'all saw that. But that's an example of motor. That's why with meat it's a different breed of animal. So it's too loose on motor and it's too loose on nitrous. And normally if it's one way, it's perfect for the other. So what I'm saying is if it's good one way, like it's working good on motor, it working too good on motor, then it probably ain't gonna work the best on nitrous. Or if it working too good on nitrous, it's probably not gonna work the best on motor. Cause most of the time, no matter in any case, if you're using a power adder, a turbo supercharger, nitrous, where it's power on demand, in any circumstance, when you touch that button or you shoot that boost in there, it's gonna jump your RPM up. No matter what the application, your RPM gonna jump up. It is what it is with that. Now on the motor side, somebody can have a more sluggish motor. Somebody can have a motor, an engine like mine, where it rip just as fast on motor, almost as when you shooting a power adder to it, applying the power adder to it. And that's the reason my car blows through the converter on motor and now on nitrous, as I discovered. It's just super bad on nitrous because the RPM hand really don't move. That's why it pegged out. And y'all probably, it sounds like I wasn't changing gears. I had ran through first and second, all 3 gears, boom, boom. I was in 3rd gear, man. The RPM hand did not move. It stayed up there on the rev limiter. So I'm not seeing any RPM drop at all. That's a sign that is way too loose. It needs to be tightened up. So now, when a converter is too tight, then you're seeing too much of an RPM drop. And usually, you want to see anywhere between 300 to 500 RPM drop. You can work with that. 500 to me is, I said, anywhere between 400 and 500 to me is ideal. Cause if you got a good rev and small block, even on motor or not small block or engine, big block. If you got a good rev and engine, even with an RPM drop like that, it's gonna come right back. It's gonna spin it right back, and that's enough wiggle room on with a power adder to where you can catch it, man. So right now that I explained that, it's not seeing any drop on motor, or sometimes on motor it will, but we talking 100, 200 RPM drop. On nitrous, I ain't seeing nothing. So the converter is extremely loose. So that's why I'm saying I like the converter has to be tightened up. Now, what does that mean? If you cut a converter open, I wish I had one right here to show y'all. If you cut a converter open, it got a stator and it got like a circular thing. It got a circular. I'm gonna say just for the sake of simplicity, it got a circular thing in there. It's a circle. It sits in there like a circular plate. It has fins all around it, and that fluid flows through those fins. It's fins, and they're bent at a certain angle. So you can adjust the angle on those fins, and it can tighten or loosen your converter up. And it changes the way that transmission fluid flows through that converter and the velocity and stuff, and how it locks up and stuff. And you know, it just changes the whole dynamic of the converter just by bending the fins. So they go in there and bend the fins, and then it changes. You can lock or you can loosen the converter up. You can go this way or this way, and it changes the way the fluid travels through the fins. So that's pretty much what like I said, the simple stuff of tight versus loose converter. Now, you know, you're gonna have the super technical people. They're gonna well, this and that. Yeah, it's a lot, man. With anything with racing, man, it's a give and a take, and it's a but. So like I said, the stuff I'm telling y'all is not one rule fits all. It's just general knowledge that you can take with you and have a basic understanding of how this works, because it gets a lot more detailed than that. But to give y'all an example of blowing through the converter on nitrous, I'm about to post a clip of Dolo where I took Dolo to the track. I showed y'all the video, but I never showed y'all this clip because I was actually testing on nitrous. First time I ever sprayed the car on 26s on nitrous. I was at Middle Georgia Motorsport Park, and I had that converter. And if you follow the channel faithfully, then you know it was a time where I bought a TCI Ultimate Street Fighter converter, man. I tried it out, and I kept it in there for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's what I said. It's like brand new. I took it, ran it at one time, and it changed. Remember, I went through it. It changed the way the car reacted on motor. And I was like, man, I got to tame it down. I had to go dial my suspension back in. But then when I was testing, I did a whole little series on it. Got it figured back out on motor. Boom. So I took it to the track, ran it on motor. Car ran it personal best at that time on motor. I was like, oh man, straight out of the trailer. Ran it personal best on motor. I said, shoot, this thing riding. So right then, I was like, man, I'm kind of curious on how it's gonna act on nitrous. I took it down there on nitrous. I ain't even make a full pass because it blew through the converter. Y'all gonna see what I'm talking about in the example. The RPMs didn't drop. It sounded like it wasn't even changing gears, man. It'll make you think you tore something up. So what I'm about to do, I'm about to put that clip in right now so y'all can check that out. so y'all saw that clip. That's an example of blowing through the converter. An excellent example of blowing through the converter. If you can go back and rewind this stuff, you'll see, man, that it wasn't no RPM drops. You can't hear the transmission shift and none of that. Or if you go look at the last track trip of me and go look at the motor pass, which I told y'all that would have been my fastest and all-time best motor pass on foot brake, just foot braking, if it wouldn't have blew through the converter. But if you listen when I get on down the track, it sounds like the car didn't even change gears. It did change gears. I went through, but it sounded like it, and because the RPMs didn't drop, so it wasn't no significant change in the tone of the exhaust. So the converter, you can have the baddest engine in the world. If your converter can't transfer that power through that transmission down to them back wheels, through that drive shaft, man, you won't be seeing nothing. That's why it's been people who literally had a converter and you don't know what you're missing until you find it. A lot of people don't know this, so they might take your car out there. Let's say you got a nice little street car and you're running 750s or 760s or something, and then you like you flying. You know, you think you flying. You seeing the RPM drop, and you running on motor. And let's say your RPM dropping 600 or 700 RPMs, and you running 750s with a 600 or 700 RPM drop. And a lot of people don't even pay this stuff attention because they don't record themselves. They're not recording the tach, or they don't have a data log, or so they don't know. So you seeing the 600-700 RPM drop, and you running 750s. You see the number, you like, oh, I'm happy. Whole time not realizing your converter not happy. That's a lot of slippage. So you could change your converter and loosen it up some more and bring that drop down to 300 RPM drop, and now you running 730s, 720s off of converter chain. And in real life, you get up slow, dude. Talking about the tires supposed to came the other vlog. Yeah, but and you'll see like a 300 RPM drop, and then you pick up, you were running 750, and now you running 720, 710. So off of a converter chain. That's why people like, man, I picked up off of a converter chain. I seen people drop a whole second off of a converter chain, but you don't know what you're missing until you find it. So just understand this when you're doing your combination. Everything I'm showing y'all and I'm teaching you applies in a more competitive field too. Y'all know I don't competitively race no more. I done did that. I done closed that chapter. I like to go have fun and do stuff like this to teach y'all, and I race myself and have fun in the process. But it's a lot of people I know that watch that don't know this stuff because they ain't out there spending their money to go test these ideas out, because you know it's a hobby for most people. So that's what I do it for. Or they're not weighing this stuff. Like I'm gonna weigh the expensive rims versus the cheaper wheels and stuff like that. So you know, take it from me. I did it with Dolo. I bought a $700. That converter was a $700-some converter, man. And I took it out in 2 weeks. I wasn't tripping about it. It was an inconvenience, but I said I'm gonna write it off. So I took it out, went back to my foot brake converter. And that's why I had bought it. I bought it because it was rated for a trans brake. My converter in there now not rated for a trans brake. It's a foot brake converter, but it works perfect. Almost 0% slippage was shown on the dyno. And it works like a charm, especially on nitrous. It tightens up perfectly on nitrous, and it works perfect for my car, the weight of the car. So that's my backup converter. But I'm gonna have one spec for Dolo too, but I can't use a trans brake. On motor, it even does pretty decent. But the thing with a converter is always gonna be a give and a take. So you gotta find that sweet spot with a converter. You got to find a sweet spot, not where it's too much this way or too much this way. You got to find a sweet spot. Cause if it's too much this way, it's gonna be just terrible this way. If it's too much this way, it's gonna be terrible this way. And right now, I'm not even in a sweet spot. It's blowing through over here and over here. So it need total reconfiguration, man, and all that. So that's what it is. So to remember, if the converter is too loose, that means you're barely seeing a RPM drop between shifts. When you shift into RPMs barely dropping, or they're not dropping at all, that means too loose. That's called blowing through the converter. If it's too tight, that means you're seeing too much of a RPM drop. So you gotta take heed to that, man. Like I said, it'll make you think some jump toe up, man. That's just how it works. But yeah, man, that's they're gonna wrap it up, y'all. I hope y'all got some good information off this video, man. I hope y'all enjoyed and all that. The transmission will be out with Meech tomorrow. Like I said, at the time y'all seeing this, probably already out, and the converter is probably already back at Hughes. It's a Hughes converter I run. It's custom spec and stuff. And like I said, I already talked to them, got them on the phone, so we already got a game plan. I'm going back up there. They're gonna take care of it for me, get it back to me. We're gonna pop it in the car, and I'm going to take it up the road first and make sure everything, cause you can see it right there. You're gonna know immediately. Even with normal driving, you can monitor and see it. So yeah, man, that's it. So I appreciate the time. Catch y'all later, BCG. We out.